welcome back to VEDIJ day 6. I know what's going on. And today, listen, I'm filming this at 10:30 at night. I am exhausted. I just got back from my friend's house, just watched Pitch Perfect. Feeling good, tired but good. So I'm doing a simple video today. I'm just gonna review, I guess, the books I've read this year. Because I've read a lot more than I normally read this year. I don't often, I don't know, I used to really love reading. I used to read all the time when I was little. And I kind of just, I know it looks ridiculous. I kind of just stopped, I guess. I got a phone and that became more interesting to me. But recently I've sort of read a few books. I read like one book and then I just started reading more and more and more. And it's been really nice. I love books so much. I forgot how much I love them. And especially this year, I've read some bangers. So we're gonna review them all. There are a few, I think I have two. There are two books that I've read this year that are not in this pile. And that's because one of them is an audiobook and the other one is missing. I don't know where it went. I might have lent it to someone. I'll just go from the top of the pile to the bottom. Starting with The Wicked Will Rise. This book is, this is like the second to last book in a series. The series is called Dorothy Must Die, and it's all about a spin on the Wizard of Oz. So in this version of these books, Dorothy is evil, and this girl called Amy Gum ends up in Oz after her trailer that she lives in gets like caught up in a tornado and taken to Oz, and then she has to save Oz because she's the saviour, and it's all very good. If you like Once Upon a Time, you will most definitely like this book. It's very Once Upon a Time, and yeah, this is one of these books, and I think I finished it. Yeah, I did. I got halfway through the last book, and I think I got a bit bored of it maybe, but up until this one at least, very good series. I do recommend. And yeah, that is the first book. Next up we have the first Matt Haig book. There is another one. This is The Midnight Library, and this book, I've seen some mixed reviews about this. Some people, I saw someone say that it's obvious it was written by a man, which makes sense to me, but I don't actually think that's, like, I don't mind that. It is a bit maybe cliche and a bit cringe every now and then, but I really don't mind it because this book was really nice. If, however, you are sensitive to topics of suicide, I would maybe recommend going in a bit of caution with this book. It is all about a girl who has absolutely no direction in her life. She doesn't know what she's going to do anymore, and she wants to die. So she does. She commits suicide and ends up in the Midnight Library, which is a big library in sort of the limbo zone, where you get to relive your life based on any past decision you could have made. So it's very, I don't know if any of you guys know about the game franchise Life is Strange, but it's very like that, where your choices matter a lot and you get to see how your life would have played out if you made a different choice, and it's about the butterfly effect and all that stuff. And it's really, really, really good and very interesting. She gets to see like lots of different versions of her life, somewhere she's happy, somewhere she thinks she's happy but she finds out she isn't, and somewhere she thought she would be happy but she's actually still as depressed as she was in her original life. Really good book. Her suicide note is actually in the book, which I wasn't prepared for, and I was reading it on the bus and I had a little bit of a cry, so don't read this book in public, maybe, just a warning. Yet another book maybe you shouldn't read in public. This is Song of Achilles. Oh my god. I started reading this in around August last year, I think, and I only finished it in around February this year. Not very good going for a book, but to be fair, I did put it down halfway through. And it was slow in the beginning, but very good book. I love the way that the writer, Madeline Miller, describes things. She has a very particular way of describing scents and sounds and feelings, like texture, and it is so pretty and gut-wrenching. So this is about Achilles and Patroclus, and it's a retelling kind of Achilles' story, and it's, if you were into Percy Jackson as a kid or the Greek gods in general, this is a book for you. It is beautiful and sad. This review says it's an exciting, sexy, violent Superman version of the Iliad, which is not entirely what I'd say. I think it's more romantic than that. But again, be warned, reading the end of this book in public may end badly. But yeah, very good book. I do recommend. All of these I recommend. They are brilliant books. And leading on from The Song of Achilles, I don't have this book. This is one that I lost, so I'll just do that. Ding! The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh my god, guys. This book... It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Again, the end of this book I wouldn't recommend reading in public, or even just like getting to the middle of it, I'd stop reading it in public because, this book is about a woman, a movie star, who wants to tell her memoir when she's like 80 or something, and she hires a writer. It's written from the writer's perspective, but also from Evelyn's perspective when they're telling the story. It's a really interesting way of doing it. I don't know if that's unique to that book or if it's like a common thing that I haven't noticed because I'm a bit thick, but it's really interesting. And it's about this movie star, how she came to be so famous, how she used her sexiness to her advantage, and then how she falls in love with a woman who's also a movie star. And there's a bit of Stonewall in there in the 70s, a bit of lesbian pining. Gotta love a bit of lesbian pining. It is both the most beautiful and horrible book I've ever read, so definitely recommend that book. Here we have the second Matt Haig book. I have had this book for so long. I've read it about 5 times. It's kind of maybe a bit unfair to include it in this list because it's like the 5th time I reread it, but this is Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig, and I don't know how to describe this book. It is about Matt Haig's personal experience with depression and anxiety, and how his anxiety disorder and depression wove together to create an evil big monster that tried to, destroy his life. And it details some of the worst moments of his life and how he persevered or didn't persevere and just existed through them. And it gives you such a perspective. I love this book so much, guys. And there are different parts of this book. So there are a list of reasons to stay alive in this book. Where's my favourite page? Where is it? There is a page, this is one of my favourite pages. It is things you think during your first panic attack. 1, I'm going to die. 2, I'm going to go mad, there will be no coming back. 3, this won't end. 4, everything is going to get worse. 5, no one's heart is meant to beat this fast. 6, I'm thinking far too fast. 7, I'm trapped. 8, no one has felt this way before, ever, in the whole of human history. 9, why are my arms numb? 10, I will never get out of this. And then on the next page, there is things you think during your 1000th panic attack. Here it comes. I've been here before, but wow, it's still bad. I might die. I'm not going to die. I'm trapped. This is the worst ever. No, it's not. Remember Spain. Why are my arms numb? I will get over this. Guys, it's just... yeah. The Reasons to Stay Alive page as well. I can't read them all out because there's a lot. Maybe if someone would like me to, maybe I'll read it. Maybe I'll read some of my favourite pages. I like the page that's it's called Depression Is, and it lists a load of metaphors for depression. And then it says, depression is also smaller than you. There's conversations across time where he talks to his younger self that is horribly depressed and doesn't think he's going to survive it. Oh my god. If you struggle with depression or anxiety, or the winning combination of both, I do recommend reading this book. It isn't quite as dark as The Midnight Library. It is still quite dark. I don't think there's any serious mention of suicide. Hi, it's very dark in my room right now, but I just wanted to add that I was wrong. There is a part in the book quite early on where he is contemplating jumping off a cliff. It's alright, it's not the worst scene, like it's not like the most graphic thing, but he is sort of trying to decide whether he should do it or not, and it's like the first chapter of the book, so just giving you guys a little warning if you do decide to read the book. but just bear in mind that it is quite heavy, so I wouldn't recommend reading it if you are deep in that place. And if you are, by the way, reach out. You can talk to me if you want, bro. Leave your Instagram in the comments, I don't care. But generally, very good book, do recommend. And then I realised this is a big difference from the last book. This is James Acaster's Classic Scrapes. Maybe this is another book not to read in public, because I have never laughed so much at a book before. It's ridiculous. I am a big fan of James Acaster. I think he's hilarious and brilliant, and his comedic timing. Mwah. Why do I keep doing that in the video? This is like the 5th time I've done this in a video. Mwah. But yeah, this book is all about situations that James Acaster has found himself in. Apparently every single word in this book is true. I don't know if I believe that, genuinely, because it's so ridiculous. If you want to laugh, even if you're not a big fan of James Acaster himself, it's still funny, I think, objectively, some of the things that happen. And even if you don't believe it's true, again, it's just funny. And yeah, I have genuine memories of being sat alone, reading this, laughing out loud, and people walking past me and genuinely staring at me like I'm insane. It's so good. I genuinely have been crying with laughter over a book, and that's never happened to me before. Okay, so next up, the book that has possibly given me the most weird looks, to the point where I had to take the cover off it because I felt so weird. This is How to Be Perfect by Mike Shaw. If you have watched The Good Place, then you might recognise the name Michael Schur, or if you've watched The Office, or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or any of those brilliant shows. He was the creator of The Good Place, and he co-wrote on a load of all those shows that I just mentioned. But specifically for The Good Place, the show that he created on Netflix, which is all about morality, he had to learn a lot of moral ethics. He had to learn so much for this show to write it and create it and do it well. So he obviously, because he's a normal guy, struggled a lot with the moral philosophy, because moral philosophy is incredibly dense, and Michael Shaw found a way around that. This book came out this year. It's quite new. I've destroyed it, and I learned about it from the Office Ladies podcast, my beloveds, and it is really interesting. If any of you are interested in getting into moral philosophy, reading more about it, this is a really good place to start, because it's so simple and funny. Again, with the James Acaster, this is the book I've laughed hardest at ever, and I don't laugh at books very often. It's very funny. It's written, if you like The Good Place, you will like this book. It's got the same vibe, obviously, same guy. But it tackles moral philosophy, and it's in a really interesting way. Even the parts that are incredibly boring, he makes it interesting. He talks about shopping trolleys and fender benders and ugly t-shirts and punching friends in the face and Hurricane Katrina and all that stuff, and tipping, all that interesting stuff. Anyway, very good book. I do recommend this a lot. And it got me into more moral philosophy. I have a book by I have What We Owe to Each Other by T.M. Scanlon on my wish list currently, because of this book and because of The Good Place in general. I wanted to read it. But yeah, if you're interested in moral philosophy, good book. And then the last one is the audiobook that I obviously don't have a physical copy of. And I have to be a basic bitch, guys. It's The Hunger Games. I love The Hunger Games. I don't need to explain The Hunger Games much, because I think everyone in the world knows what The Hunger Games is. But how many of you have read it recently? Because I very much recommend rereading it. It's a really good book. Or listening to the audiobook. It's free on Spotify. You're welcome. I think all 3 books are on Spotify. They're free. The first book specifically has a really nice narrator. I really like her voice. And it's really a good book. I may dislike Katniss Everdeen immensely, but that's aside the point. Very good book. Genuinely, I don't know what to say because it's Hunger Games, but I do recommend reading it. And that's all. I am currently also, I'd like to say, reading, it's in my bag so I'm not getting it, but you saw it in the last video. I'm currently making my way through another one of Jennifer Worth's memoirs, Shadows of the Workhouse, which details Jennifer Worth, her time in the East End in Poplar in London, working as a nurse and midwife, and the poverty that she witnessed and the after effects of the workhouses. which were, maybe you know, were like the place where children that had no parents or people that lived in like severe poverty worked in during like the 1800s to like 1930-ish, 14, not really, and how the trauma from the workhouses lasted decades until her time there. And it's a really interesting read, and it's really, really hard to read as well, but it's very interesting. And I'm also reading... What am I reading? Another one. Oh, I've also started listening to the second Hunger Games audiobook, which, again, I don't need to say much about it. It's the Hunger Games. It's a good book. There you go. And that is it. Those are all the books I've read this year. And every single one of them I highly recommend. Please let me know if you have read any of these books or you want to read any of them. And let me know if you do read any of them. Come back to this video after you've read them and be like, I read that book, thank you. Because that's interesting. You won't, but that'd be cool if you did. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye!